Today, we're taking you inside a war room, but forget everything you think you know. There are no maps on the walls, no generals pushing models around a table. This is a digital battleground, a state-of-the-art cyber warfare platform that was never, ever meant to see the light of day. And we're not just talking about a training simulation here. This is a full-on dress rehearsal for war. So how did this all come out? Well, the first crack in the wall of secrecy came from a security researcher who goes by Net Askari. They stumbled upon a treasure trove of internal documents. And these weren't just boring memos. They were literally the blueprints for a top-secret hacking training facility. Think of it as a digital dojo designed from the ground up to practice attacks on the critical infrastructure of major world powers. This tweet was the world's first glimpse into something incredibly sophisticated and, frankly, pretty chilling. I want you to picture a flight simulator for a minute. You know, where pilots train for every possible scenario. Now, what if a superpower took that same idea, but instead of training pilots to fly jets, it was training elite hackers to take down power grids, to shut down airports, and to gridlock entire cities? That right there is the core idea we're unpacking today. All right, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll pull back the curtain on this secret cyber war room. Then we'll talk about a huge strategic shift from just spying to outright sabotage. We'll dissect the anatomy of the cyber weapon itself, look at its digital hit list, and discuss why this completely changes the rules of modern warfare. And finally, we'll ask, how do you even begin to defend against this? So it's time to give this ghost in the machine its name. The official code name for this platform, which was commissioned by China's Ministry of Public Security, is Expedition Cloud. Now, Expedition Cloud is not your average training lab. The documents use a very specific and kind of terrifying phrase to describe it, a live-fire exercise yard. This tells you everything you need to know. This isn't about learning the basics of hacking. It's about creating incredibly realistic digital copies of real-world networks so that operators can rehearse actual specific attack missions. And you know, the very existence of a platform like this signals a massive fundamental shift in strategy. We are moving way beyond the kind of cyber operations that we're used to hearing about. For decades, when we talked about state-sponsored hacking, we were mostly talking about espionage, right? Stealing secrets, intellectual property, government data. But Expedition Cloud represents a huge pivot, a pivot to sabotage. The goal isn't just about stealing information anymore. It's about getting ready to disrupt, dismantle, and even destroy physical infrastructure. We are talking about the ability to flip a switch and plunge a city into darkness, or to bring an entire nation's transportation network to a grinding halt. And this idea, this blurring of the lines between the digital world and the physical world, it has a name. It's called hybrid warfare. It's this doctrine where a few lines of code can have the same impact as a bomb, where digital attacks are precision engineered to cause very real, very physical chaos. So the big question is, how do you build a system like this? How do you practice these attacks without tipping your hand and getting caught? Well, let's pop the hood and take a look, because the architecture is seriously clever. Okay, at first glance, this network diagram looks really complicated because, well, it is. It's a multi-layered global system that was built from the ground up for two things: stealth and deniability. But don't worry, we can actually break it down into four distinct logical layers. It all starts with the command layer. This is the brain of the operation, safely tucked away inside China's internal network. From there, it sends orders to the tool layer. This is a global network of worker nodes that are the ones that actually launch the attacks. In between them is a really clever relay layer that acts as a hidden go-between. And finally, you have the target layer. These are high-fidelity copies of foreign networks, actually running on the live internet to make the simulation as realistic as possible. Now, the real genius here, the part that's straight out of a spy movie, is that relay layer. You can think of it like a digital dead drop. The command network never ever talks directly to the attack nodes. Instead, commands are left in one secret place, and the results are picked up from another. It's a masterful way to break the chain of evidence, making it almost impossible to trace an attack back to who actually ordered it. And get this, because of these leaked documents, we can actually see the user interface. This is what the operators are looking at. And it's not some black screen with green text. It's a whole suite of sophisticated dashboards. The operators and their bosses can manage their resources across the globe. They can monitor missions in real time on a world map, and they can even track the performance and skill level of each individual hacker. It's basically a gamified, enterprise-level platform for waging cyber war. So if you've got a system this powerful, the next obvious question is, who are they practicing on? And the documents? Well, they're disturbingly specific about that. The target list literally reads like a playbook for causing societal collapse. The simulations are zeroed in on three main sectors. First, power systems, with a stated goal of causing widespread blackouts. Second, traffic systems. We're talking everything from port dispatch systems to traffic lights, with the goal of paralyzing transportation. And third, energy grids, specifically targeting the industrial control networks that run the whole energy supply chain. And if that's not worrying enough, it gets even more insidious. The platform has a dedicated focus on practicing what are called supply chain attacks. This means they are targeting hardware from major trusted brands, companies whose equipment forms the backbone of government and corporate networks all over the world. The idea is to turn this trusted gear into a pre-positioned Trojan horse, a hidden entry point that's already inside the castle walls. And just so you understand the scale here, this is not some small experimental project. The internal documents boast of having a library with over 100 different target templates, 50 pre-built network scenarios, and 200 target resources ready to go. This is essentially an attack-in-a-box library, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. Okay, so what does this all mean for the big picture, on a global scale? Well, the existence of a platform like Expedition Cloud fundamentally rewrites the strategic landscape of modern conflict. It changes the game. The key concept to understand here is something called the weaponization cycle. Think of it like this. It's the amount of time between when a security flaw is discovered and when a hacker can build a tool to exploit it. By using AI and super realistic simulations like Expedition Cloud, attackers can shrink that cycle from months or weeks down to just days or even hours. That leaves defenders with a dangerously, almost impossibly small window to react and patch their systems. So, faced with this new reality of rapid-fire, sophisticated threats, how on earth do you defend against an enemy who is constantly practicing, constantly rehearsing, and constantly evolving? The experts cited in the analysis say we need a complete paradigm shift in how we think about defense. The new defensive playbook has 4 key moves. First, and this is a big one, assume breach. Basically, stop focusing all your energy on building an impenetrable wall. Assume the enemy is already inside, and shift your focus to finding them quickly. Second, you have to fight fire with fire. Use your own high-fidelity simulations to test your own defenses. Third, deploy deception technology, things like honeypots that can trap and study attackers. And finally, you have to rigorously verify your supply chains, knowing that any piece of trusted equipment could be a potential entry point. And all of this leaves us with one final, very sobering thought. Expedition Cloud proves that the world's most advanced cyber powers are no longer just preparing for a digital conflict. They are actively rehearsing it in full-scale live fire exercises. And that begs the ultimate question. In a world where the digital war games are this realistic, how do we make sure the simulation doesn't become reality?